How's it going, guys? It is Blake here from theavidentries.com and the sanctuary.theavidentries.com. I am here today to talk a little bit about, I guess I can say that this is a more formal announcement for the Shadows new arcs that are starting on both theavidentries.com and the sanctuary.theavidentries.com. So, over, I think it was a couple days ago, I released I guess it's sort of a teaser, sort of introductory video to Shadows over on the YouTube channel as well as my Facebook page. Yeah, we're starting a brand new arc for the month of August, and for for the first time in a while, this will actually just be a 1 month arc. It's not going to be split into 2 months. It's not going to be split into three like a lot of the past arcs for this year, and even in 2018 have been. This is just going to be a singular arc for the month of August, and it's going to be a sort of crossover arc, so to speak. So each different both of the sites, the arc is kind of going to be tying into each other one way or another. I realized in the teaser that I uploaded onto the YouTube channel, I realized that I only put Shadows as the title for the arc. They actually each have different titles, slightly different. So the Shadows arc, just straight Shadows, is currently ongoing over on the Sanctuary, while the arc that's going on over on the Avid Entries is the War of Shadows. So, Shadows are in both the titles, but I was not able to put I didn't actually put the War of Shadows into the teaser video on that release on the YouTube channel, but hopefully I made it clear that there were two different arcs starting on both the sites, and they were going to sort of tie into each other. And I believe I said that on my Facebook page. I made a short little post about it, talking about it, and exactly what was going to be going on. So I want to give a little backstory, or not even backstory. I just want to give a little back information on how this arc really came to be. So in 2017, I started an arc in August as well over on the Sanctuary entitled Shadows Rising. My memory is very faint as to exactly what was written about. I don't remember any of the entries that I did 2017. That was a very long time, and if I remember correctly, August of 2017 was also a very hectic month for me. A lot was going on. I was actually traveling a lot at the time. It's just a very busy month, and I think due to that, I think there weren't really that many entries for that arc, but I do remember I did do a dedicated vlog for that arc, and I think that's actually still up on this channel. I believe that was filmed in August. And yeah, that's kind of where things started. And then what I do very strongly remember is things sort of picked up last year during July and August of last year with... I should probably check on... All right, sorry about that. So as I was saying, so things really started to pick up in 2018, I would say, during July and August, primarily over on the Sanctuary. In July I started an arc called Souvenirs for Shadows, and at the time I would say that was the most darkest arc. I had the most darkest, I want to say, entries that I've ever written, literally since I started the Avid Entries. The entries were I want to say they were very down to earth. Even the videos I did were very down to earth. They were very raw, and the overall arc was just sort of expressing the frustration with a lot of the, in general, I guess, just a lot of the BS in the world, and just a lot of the sort of the state that the world has become, and how, being put here, you're literally forced to just deal with it. I want to say that's really what the arc was sort of about, and that sort of evolved even more into the following month, August of last year. I started the arc titled The Burning Shadows, and that sort of just took that raw feeling, those raw entries, and sort of just, I want to say, moved it up to the next level. But at the same time, I kind of want to say I did do some more lighthearted things for the Burning Shadows, but my memory is still a little bit faint. But I do know that there were quite a few entries for the Burning Shadows last year, and yeah. But I did go after last year. After that, the Burning Shadows concluded. I did know that I wanted to do a third and final year for this overall Shadows arc, and I feel like it all has been leading up. It all has been leading up to the arcs that are going on for this month. So shadows over on the Sanctuary and the War of Shadows over on the Avid entries. So uh, I'm trying to think about what I should touch on next. So I guess I should talk a little bit about exactly what the arcs are about. So overall, I want to say that the Shadows series of arcs and entries are, in essence, they're going to keep the same tone. They're going to be very raw, very dark, very down to earth. But just like last year, this year's entries are going to be even darker. They're going to be even more raw, and they're going to be even more down to earth. And I think overall, I think especially with a lot that has been going on in my life, a lot that has been going on in other people's lives, and just how things have escalated between the years literally since Shadows Rising even started. I think the sort of things that I want to touch on are, I guess you could say, are a lot more sensitive, a lot more dealing with personal issues, a lot more dealing with just the mental state of a lot of people, and it's sort of going to be an arc about just surrendering to a darkness. Like I've made it pretty clear in the entries that the darkness has literally just spread, and there is no trace of light left, and it's sort of in essence about being down in that, it, leading to a leading to that darkest state, and just figuring out how to deal with it, figuring out how to what's the word that I'm looking for? I don't think incorporate is the word. uh, yeah, it's another word. I can't think of it right now. I'm still waking up, but I guess for now I'll just use incorporate. Just feeling out, or just trying to figure out how to incorporate it to, I suppose, in a way, better your situation, or to keep moving forward with that darkness. And it's sort of in a way, an arc about joining forces with the darkness, because that's literally all you have. And of course, I already have in mind some sort of direction as to where things will lead, sort of afterwards. But there's a lot in my personal life and whatnot that will definitely impact where things lead after Shadows and the War of Shadows arc, and which arc I do next, and how that one will play out and stuff like that. So, as you guys already know, a lot of stuff that I write about is things that are going on in the world around me, things that are going on in my personal life, people that I know's personal life, stuff like that. So it's not always just me just writing out stories. A lot of it has to do with things that are happening in real life, in real time. So just keep that in mind. So if you ever do check out any of the entries, just know that a lot of the stuff is based off of real events, real happenings, and things like that. So yeah, that's kind of the overall premise of Shadows and the War of Shadows. Everything throughout the past 2 years has been leading up to these two arcs, and this will pretty much conclude the dedicated Shadows saga, I guess you could say. I guess we could call it that, is like the dedicated Shadows saga. This will pretty much conclude that, and this is, I want to say, the leading up point to how things will play out for the remainder of the year, in a way, because as I said, this is the last year for the Advent entries for the Sanctuary. Everything will be coming to a close this year, and this arc in general, these two arcs in general, are a really big turning point for that. Probably the most important turning point, I would say. But things are definitely going to escalate a lot more, I would say. with arcs going forward, it's going to be even more and more and more clear that, okay, yeah, things are ending, things are concluding. So with that said, there are actually going to be a couple different things that I am going to be doing with this arc. So hopefully you guys are happy to know that I will be doing nature music videos again, NMVs, lyric music videos again. I'll be starting some of those. I think I'll probably be doing at least two for this month of August. I have time. I have time planned to do two, and I have two tracks in mind. Well, actually, right now I only have one track in mind that I most certainly want to do. There is another track that I really, really want to do, but if I were to have it in a video, I would not be able to upload it onto YouTube because I know it would be copyright struck. Like, even though I don't monetize these videos, it would be copyright struck like very hard, and I would have to just upload it to the sites. And I don't really want to do that. I would like to have it available on YouTube for everybody else to see or to stumble across by accident or however people come across these. But I do have one track in mind as of now, and I will probably try and get to filming that next week. Next week, hopefully. I think next week would be a really good time for me to do it. So yeah, NMVs will be returning, and in addition to NMVs, this is the first time I'm ever doing anything like this. It may actually be the only time that I do something like this. I don't really know. We'll see how it goes, but I'm going to be starting a dedicated video series, sort of to complement the Shadows arc, and I'll be actually reading a book on YouTube, which is crazy. And I've been meaning to read this book for a very long time, and I feel like it's very fitting since this is the last year of the Avid entries, and it's the last. This is the ending of the overall Shadows saga, and just how things have been going on in my personal life. I feel like now is a really good time to start this book, and I decided, you know what, I'm gonna make a dedicated YouTube series just for, just in a way to complement the ending of the Shadows saga, and I'll be reading through this book, and that book is, I don't know if you guys can see it, is it backwards on the camera? It's entitled Shadows Before Dawn, Finding the Light of Love Through Your Darkest Times, written by Teal Swan. So to give you guys a little backstory about Teal Swan. So Teal Swan is, she's most popular known as like a spiritual teacher, or a spiritual guru, I guess you can say. She developed a process, well, I don't want to say she developed a process, but she has this process called the completion process, and it's sort of I guess you could say it's a sort of a therapeutic process where you go into yourself and you heal self wounds and things like that. And this is sort of the beginning to all of that. If you are into spirituality at all, you've probably heard of, even if you're into like paranormal stuff or alternative healing, or alternative mental healing, I guess you could say, you've probably heard of shadow work before. This is essentially what that is. This book is basically about that. I have not read this book, but I do know about the whole shadow work process. I've heard about it before, but I've never actually really tried it. And this is sort of about that. And I'm not really sure if you're supposed to do, I'm not really sure if you're actually supposed to go through like this with other people and like practice things after you're done reading. I'm not really sure. But I will be going through, what I'm probably going to do is I'll probably read one chapter per video, and then at the end of the video I'll just go over some thoughts and sort of recap my thoughts on certain things, pick out certain points that stood out to me or resonated with me, and talk a little bit about them. So apparently there are 6 chapters, and this is broken up into parts. So you have part 1, and then that part 1 has 6 chapters, and then part 2 has tools instead of chapters. Tool 1, tool 2, tool 3. So I guess this is sort of like suggestions. Yeah, I think this will be really interesting. This will be really interesting to do, and I'm not sure if it'll catch on. I'm not sure if people will be interested in watching something like this, but I will be starting this very, very, very soon. I'm just thinking about how I'm actually gonna like split this up because this book is decently sized. It's over 300 pages, and I'm thinking like, how am I gonna finish this before August ends? Because if there are, yeah, I mean there are well over 31 parts, and we're already like 4 days into August at the time that I'm filming this. So once we get to the tools part, I might actually have to like do like 2 per video or something like that. And this might actually continue into September, and I'm completely okay with that because I don't want to rush through it. And I would honestly prefer to do 1 like section per video. That way I can sort of just like take the time to actually understand things that she's talking about fully into the book, rather than rushing it through just to be able to complete it before the Shadow Saga ends. So yeah, so we're gonna be reading this. I'm gonna be reading through this, and I'll probably be starting next week. Honestly, I'll try to get the first part recorded on Monday. I think to start, I will be recording this. I'll be doing the reading in my room, so I'll be doing the recording in my room as well. I'm not sure if I'll use this camera or if I'll use my webcam, but I know for sure I really want to use my good studio mic. Yeah, I think maybe after I'm done doing the reading part, I can do a recap sort of. I can edit in a recap part along with the video that's sort of like this, much more laid back and in a different area. But I think for the most part, I'll be doing this in a completely different area in the house. So I'll be doing the reading in my room, and things will sound a little bit different and look a little bit different. I'll be using a slightly lesser quality of camera during the reading, but I'll have my camera on regardless. So that's another thing that I'm going to be doing for the Shadow Saga. As of now, I don't really have too many more ideas. Definitely stay tuned for further entries and further video updates. Because I do want to get back in gear of doing them. Actually, there are some other things that I do want to touch on that I will be starting again pretty soon, but I will save those for another video update. So, like I said, Shadows and the War of Shadows have started over on the Sanctuary and the avidentries.com. The intro entries are up right now. The first entry on this over on the Sanctuary is entitled Intro, and the first entry over on the Avid Entries is entitled Intro B-Side. So definitely go give those a read. It's sort of just briefly talking about exactly what's happening and how things are getting started. And yeah, this is the end of the Shadow Saga. It's been a long ride. It's been a long 3 years, I guess you can say, and this is a turning point. This is really the ending taking shape, I guess you can say. So I'm definitely really excited to continue writing, and yeah, very excited to share the rest of the journey with you guys. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. I will catch you guys, or I will see you guys very soon in the next one with some reading, and until next time, I'll catch you guys later.